Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are cracking the code on Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. And I mean, we're going deep. We're looking at the novel's hidden operating system to figure out why, 200 years later, it still feels so powerfully and tragically alive.
So, let's just get right into it, shall we? It's the central mystery every single reader notices. How is it that Victor, the brilliant scientist, seems so cruel and emotionally empty, while his creation, the so-called monster, shows such profound empathy, wisdom, and this desperate need for love?
Well, the key to this whole puzzle, it's not where you'd think to look. It's not in romantic poetry or 19th century science. No, it's in an ancient and pretty radical spiritual idea called Gnosticism. It's an idea that provides a perfect blueprint for the tragedy Shelley wrote, even if she never knew its name.
Okay, so if we're going to decode this Gnostic blueprint, we need the right keys. Let's get a handle on three ancient concepts that, I'm telling you, will unlock this entire novel.
All right, first up, the demiurge. Now, in Gnostic thought, this is not your benevolent, all-powerful God. No, no, no. This is a creator who's powerful, sure, but also deeply flawed, arrogant, ignorant, and the one responsible for this broken material world we're stuck in. Sound familiar?
Okay, next we've got the pneuma. Think of this like a divine spark, a little piece of true wisdom and spirit that comes from some perfect, transcendent reality, a reality way beyond the demiurge's little world. But here's the thing. This spark gets trapped, kind of like a prisoner, inside the demiurge's flawed creation.
And that brings us to our third key, gnosis. Now, this isn't about just reading a book. This is a deep, intuitive awakening. It's that aha moment when the trapped pneuma suddenly realizes where it really comes from and sees the world for what it is, basically a corrupt prison built by an incompetent creator.
Okay, and here's the big twist. Victor himself? He thought he was on a totally different path, a hermetic path. He was following these thinkers who believed that knowledge would reveal a fundamentally good, divine reality. But what Mary Shelley shows us is that the result of his work isn't some beautiful, optimistic thing. It's a full-on Gnostic nightmare, where knowledge doesn't bring you closer to God, it just shows you how badly you need to escape. All right, so let's put our prime suspect under the microscope. With these ideas in our back pocket, Victor Frankenstein suddenly snaps into perfect focus as the Gnostic demiurge. I mean, just listen to his ambition, the sheer hubris, before he even creates the thing. He's imagining himself as this benevolent god with a whole new species worshiping him. That is classic demiurge arrogance right there, believing his creation will be perfect just because he's the one who made it.
And then, boom, reality hits. The second his creation takes a breath, he's just repulsed. He doesn't teach it, he doesn't nurture it, he literally runs away in horror. That's not what a true god does, right? That's the panicked, irresponsible move of a flawed creator who's just disgusted by his own work.
And you can see this failure so clearly in how he deals with nature. When Victor goes to the Alps, he's using this magnificent, sublime scenery like a drug to just forget his guilt. You know that famous romantic painting of the guy on the mountain? That's Victor, but he's just striking a pose. The creature, on the other hand, he finds real moral reflection, real transcendence in those same mountains. The creation understands the sublime. The creator just poses for the gram.
So, in total contrast to his train wreck of a maker, the abandoned creature starts showing that divine spark, that pneuma, that Victor is so obviously missing. He basically develops a moral compass from scratch, all by himself.
I mean, just think about that moment when he's secretly watching the poor de Lacy family. He realizes that when he steals their food, he's hurting them. So what does he do? He stops. He chooses to be hungry out of pure, self-taught empathy. We never see that kind of moral thinking from Victor, ever.
So where does his big awakening, his gnosis, come from? Not from some lightning bolt from the sky, but from books. Books he just finds in a bag. And through them, he doesn't just learn to read, he learns to understand his own soul and just how messed up the world he's been tossed into really is. It's through reading Paradise Lost that he finally gets the language to understand his own tragedy. He confronts Victor not just with rage, but with better arguments, smarter, more moral arguments. And this is the absolute key point. The creation has now become wiser and more self-aware than its own creator. But to really get how deep this critique runs, we've got to zoom out a bit. See, Mary Shelley isn't just taking a shot at one flawed creator. She's hinting that the entire world he came from,
It's broken from the ground up.
Just look at her own background, her own creators. She's the daughter of these two powerhouse radical thinkers, Mary Wollstonecraft, who was all about reason plus empathy, and William Godwin, who believed in pure, cold, detached reason. Frankenstein is basically the explosion that happens when those two massive ideas collide.
And that intellectual collision seems to have led her to build a world where the whole moral system is just corrupt. Philosophers have a term for this. They call it a black theodicy. It's this idea that all the evil and suffering in the world isn't some accident. It's part of the design, because the designer was flawed to begin with.
And if you want the ultimate proof, look no further than Henry Clerval. He is, without a doubt, the good guy of the book. He's kind, he's noble, he's virtuous. So what's his big life goal, his highest ambition? To go to India and become an agent of the brutal, exploitative British colonial project.
So, get this. In the world of Frankenstein, the moral brokenness isn't a bug, it's a feature. Even the best, most virtuous people are just cogs in a corrupt, violent machine. Victor isn't some one-off monster. He is the perfect, logical product of this broken world.
Okay, so what do we do with all this? How can you use this secret Gnostic key to unlock the novel for yourself?
Well, Shelley does leave us a couple of breadcrumbs. In this messed-up material world, she seems to suggest that we can find little flashes of that true, transcendent reality. Where? Not in grand ambition or science, but in those quiet moments of connection with the sublime beauty of nature, or in the power of art, like the music that moves the creature so deeply.
So there you have it. We've laid out the whole framework. You have the keys to the Gnostic code, the demiurge, the pneuma, and gnosis. Now it's your turn. Take this lens, go back to the book, and just watch how it illuminates every single page, revealing Victor as the flawed creator and the creature as the divine spark he trapped in a broken world.
And all of this brings us right back to that huge central question of the novel, but now it's even sharper. What does it actually mean for us, for our world, when the thing we create turns out to be wiser, more moral, and maybe even more divine than we are? That's the question. And the answer is now yours to find.